of those you have blessed, not of those against whom there is anger, nor of those who are misguided. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So the city of Temple Terrace is pleased to join with the local Muslim community in celebrating Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr this year. I try. We wish our Muslim neighbors blessed Ramadan, and we're very happy to have all of you with us tonight. We have Sister Tara Sadadeen is here with us tonight as we recognize the celebration. She is not here with us tonight. Okay. I'm sorry? She has not made it yet. She has not made it yet. Okay. Well, we have allotted a few minutes for somebody to speak on Ramadan. If you'd like to, somebody wants to do that on her behalf. I don't have your name, sir, so if you want to introduce yourself, that'd be
My name is Gamal Gasser. I live here in Temple Terrace.
welcome.
Thank you. Okay. Ramadan is the holiest month of the Islamic calendar and marks the first revelation of the Quran to the Prophet Muhammad. The first verse of the Quran was revealed within Ramadan. In the name of your Lord, who created all, read, and your Lord is the most gracious, who has taught the writing by the pen. He has taught man and all what he knows. Ramadan is a 29 or 30 days long. It is known by the astronomical new moons. Muslims around the world observe the month of fasting each day from sunrise to sunset. The daily breaking of the fast called iftar, and that's why we have Eid al-Fitr coming from the word iftar, is often celebrated with families and communities in gathering and is followed by the Tarawih every evening prayer. Ramadan is regarded as the time of spiritual reflection, increased solidarity, and charity for the poor, sick, hungry worldwide. Ramadan signifies the bringing of differences between people over a shared commitment to faith. The end of Ramadan is commemorated by Eid al-Fitr, festival of breaking the fast, a joyous occasion, mankind marking the sharing sweets, gifts, and good thoughts with family. Thank you for allowing me the time to speak in a little of about our Muslim constituents and faith. We are elated that the Ramadan recognition has become a tradition in the city of Temple Terrace. We truly feel welcome in this city. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and I have a certificate of recognition I'd like to.
Of course. Hatim, they are the one that is supposed to receive it. Come on, my brother. Sure. Come on. Thank you very much.
Good evening.
Now they can go eat.
The next item, just for the record, in case somebody is here, item 8B on our agenda tonight is going to be pulled from the agenda tonight. This is a resolution adopting CU 21-01 for the conditional use permit located at 12902 North 56th Street. So this item will be pulled from the agenda tonight. I just don't want anybody to sit through waiting for that item and then for no reason. So, okay. Next item for action is a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. I should have that here somewhere. Mr. Timothy Bennett is here from the outreach, or he's the outreach coordinator for the Hillsborough County Children's Board. It's Mr. Bennett.
Right here. He's coming in now.
Okay, great. We'll give him a second to get in, so. Hello, sir. You, Mr. Bennett? You're right on time, sir. Yes. Good, welcome. Good to see you this evening. So we have a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month, and I know you are the outreach coordinator for Hillsborough County's Children's Board.
Yes,
So,
sir.
Very
Yes, sir.
good.
Thank you
So,
much for having me. My name is Timothy Bennett. I am the outreach coordinator for the Children's Board of Hillsborough County. And April is Child Abuse Prevention Month. We thank you guys for partnering with us as a community advocate for children and families. I'm here just to represent the Children's Board and then just bring awareness to what we're here to do. So according to the CDC, 1 in 7 children have experienced some form of child abuse and neglect. During COVID-19, many families, because they're not in school, they're not being seen by teachers and other parents. Most people are not sure if they're being neglected or if they're having any type of abuse. So a lot of it's not being reported. So we are here just to tell people about bringing more awareness. So one thing we're telling people to do is to, if you see something, say something. So you can call 1-800-96-ABUSE. That's 1-800-962-2873. We've been really busy for Child Abuse Prevention Month. Some of the things that we have done, we have held a Child Abuse Prevention Month Activities Day at our Children's Board Free Tuesday event. We've hosted virtual mandatory reporter training at our Children's Board Facebook Live Facebook page, which is really cool. If anybody wants to see it, it's still posted, so you can go onto our Facebook and watch that. And then we've also launched a comprehensive billboard campaign throughout Hillsborough County to bring awareness to the issue. So that's been amazing. A lot of you probably have seen some of our billboards throughout Hillsborough County, so they're up right now. And then finally, we have had over 700 pinwheel gardens, which is the national symbol for Child Abuse Prevention Month, is the pinwheels. They've been scattered all throughout Hillsborough County through partnerships and different providers. So with that, I would just like to thank you guys for giving the proclamation. Thank you, Mayor, everyone here. And that's it. Thank you so much.
okay, so I'll read the proclamation. It says, whereas the city of Temple Terrace's future prosperity depends on the healthy development of the children living in Hillsborough County, growing and learning within our diverse community. And whereas the COVID-19 stay-at-home mandate had a negative impact on the social safety nets for children in Hillsborough County, more children and families are at home with increased stress due to job loss or anxiety because of the pandemic, which can be an indicator of abuse and neglect in children. And whereas Florida law requires any person that is aware or suspects child abuse or neglect by a parent or legal guardian to report such information to the Department of Children and Families, we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and how it can be stopped. It takes a connected community of individuals. And whereas the Department of Children and Families and the Children's Board, in collaboration with Prevent Child Abuse Florida's Pinwheels for Prevention campaign, I can tell you that who writes these does not think of the people who has to read them. Right? We'll be engaging communities throughout Hillsborough County in a coordinated effort to prevent child abuse and neglect by promoting awareness of healthy child development, positive parenting practices, and the types of concrete support families need within their communities. That is one sentence. And now, therefore, I, Andrew Ross, by virtue of the authority vested in me as Mayor of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, do hereby set aside April 2021 as Child Abuse Prevention Month.
Thank you.
As you're going up, Mr. Mayor, I just want to make a comment. People don't realize that this is a no income restriction. So anyone and everyone who is connected to a child can go to the Children's Board and access the services. So,
7 family resource centers
Right.
that scatter all throughout Hillsborough County. So yeah, absolutely, it's all no-cost services.
so grandparents out there, go by.
Next item on our agenda is a board appointment, the MPO, Metropolitan Planning Organization Citizens Advisory Committee appointment. There's one vacancy on the MPO Citizens Advisory Committee for a term extending from April 20th, 2021 until April 20th, 2023. The city received 2 applications, one from Robert Long and one from Aya Yassin. Are either of these applicants here? I see one, Mr. Long. Would you like to say a few words? Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, City Council. I'm very happy to be here. My name is Aya Yassin. I live at 11406 Cerca del Rio Avenue, Cerca del Rio Place, Temple Terrace 33617. I've been a resident of Temple Terrace for the past 20 years. I'm a USF alumni, and I am the best candidate to represent the Temple Terrace on the MPO Advisory, Citizen Advisory Committee for the following concrete reasons. Number one, I am a 15-year urban planner with insightful experience in transportation and the MPO, the Metropolitan Planning Organization in Hillsborough County and Miami-Dade County, which was my previous experience as well. I worked with FDOT, the Florida Department of Transportation, for 5 years as a local program administrator, assisting local agencies such as the City of Temple Terrace to obtain federal and state funds and how to expend it and to improve their infrastructure. I also have experience working with Hillsborough County as a transportation executive planner. I have experience reviewing development plans and rezonings and understanding a city comprehensive plan, vision, and mission, and how to be accomplished through the development process. And as an urban and transportation planner, I am insightful and understanding of the experience and how the MPO works and how to get money and how to get funds from the MPO and how to get things done. Last but not least, I'm very passionate about the City of Temple Terrace, and I just bought my first house there, and I brought my husband here, and we're now planning to leave the house. Is very dear to me, and I want to represent the residents and understand and prioritize Temple Terrace projects and get them funded and implemented. And I understand that the City of Temple Terrace vision, mission, and objectives, and I want to be the voice for my community. And thank you very much for considering me, and I really hope that you guys can pick me for this appointment.
Thank you, and thank you for your interest.
Thank you.
I don't think Mr. Long is in attendance. What? Mr. Long? Okay. So I'd like to say, if Mr. Long is perhaps watching at home, that whichever applicant is chosen, I would thank both of you ahead of time for your willingness to serve the citizens of the city. And we greatly appreciate it, and this is a tremendous city largely because of our citizen volunteers who are willing to bring their expertise and their efforts, and so whoever does not get selected, we have plenty of opportunities to serve, and we are very happy to put you to work in some capacity, so thank you. Okay, council members, you would pass your ballots down to Joe. So just for everybody's information, while the clerk counts the ballots, the way this process works is each council member votes for one of the two candidates. The city clerk will read the results here momentarily, and the person who gets the most votes wins. And this is very quick, unlike some other elections. This doesn't take long.
So all of the votes are for Ayaya Yazin?
I'm sorry, could you say that better? A little louder? We couldn't hear you.
All of the votes are for Ms. Yazin?
Okay, very good. All right, congratulations. So, is there a motion to approve the appointment of Aya Yassin as a member of the MPO Citizens Advisory Committee?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion is approved. Thank you so much for your willingness to serve, and it certainly sounds like you have the background for somebody to be very effective in this, so thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, if the minutes of the previous meeting on April 6th are acceptable, I'd entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
I move to approve the minutes from April 16th.
Second.
Second that.
April 6th.
Oh, 6th.
6th, yes. So we have a motion by Councilmember Abel to approve the minutes from April 6th and a second by Vice Mayor Donahue. Is there any discussion on the motion, corrections to the minutes? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays, the minutes are approved. Next item on the agenda are persons wishing to be heard on items not listed on the agenda. Council has imposed a 30-minute time limit for all public comment to be continued at the end of the meeting if more time is necessary. That hasn't happened yet. A 3-minute time limit is imposed on all speakers who approach the podium. We do ask that speakers come to the podium, state your name and city of residence, and we do like to assure everybody who addresses the council that your comments are taken seriously and will be acted upon. So I have currently one request to address the council from Ms. Allison Fernandez. Mrs. Fernandez, welcome. Good to see you again.
Allison Fernandez, Temple Terrace resident, and I'm here today to ask you all to look at the science, look at the people who've been vaccinated, I'm one of them, look at the people who have had COVID, look at where we need to be right now, and it's time to open this city business. It's time to open City Hall to the public. It's the people's business, it's the people's building. The CDC original guidelines were a mask or 6 feet apart. We're doing both. It's time that this room becomes open to everybody at full capacity. If for some reason you all have decided that you do not want to be full capacity, then I ask you to move the meetings to a different location so that more people have the ability to sit in here and listen to the speaking if they also want to be part of the speaking. I understand if you're at home, you can watch the meetings start to finish. But if you're here and you want to present and you can't get in the room, you're standing outside, there's no capacity for you to see what's going on in the meeting or be listening to any conversation until you get in the room, and then you need to get back out so somebody else can come in. So, when you look at the data, and I'm an accountant, I'm analytical, I look at the data, and the data shows us that there is an incredible number of people that have been vaccinated in this area. It's time to reopen, and what we're seeing right now is not justifying the continuation of staying closed. Absolutely never justified the use of masks outside in a park. And I would humbly offer my logical opinion, and that is, first off, everything that everybody is wearing is completely porous. Anything that has trapped in the mask if you notice, everybody's got it on and off, on and off, on and off. If you don't wash your hands immediately after you touch your mask, anything that that mask has trapped is on your hand, transferred to any surface. So there are many communities that have not imposed a mask ordinance, and especially not as strict as what Temple Terrace has tried to enforce. And they're not doing any differently than we are in our surrounding area. So I'm asking you to open to the public again. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other persons wishing to address the council on items not listed on the agenda? That's the only request I have at this time. Okay. Seeing none, I'll move on to the next item, which is a lien reduction petition for the property located at 7907 Shore Bluff Court. Municipal Code Enforcement Board Chair David Pogorlich will explain. Welcome, Mr. Pogorlich.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. David Pogorlich, Chairman of the Code Board. The case in front of you tonight, case number 06-2026, actually originated back in January of 2007. It was brought into compliance in September of 2007 for a number of violations, including a fence in disrepair, a dirty pool, overgrown grass, and weeds. The root cause of these issues was actually a couple of personal tragedies for the respondent. At our meeting on April 14th, Municipal Code Enforcement Board meeting, the board considered a lien appeal, and tonight we are in front of you to recommend that lien appeal. It was a unanimous decision. The original lien amount was $10,450. The recommended lien reduction is $845, contingent upon receipt of the payment within 30 days of tonight's meeting, should you approve. Thank you.
Very good. Is there anybody in the gallery? Oh, I'm sorry. Is the property owner or representative here to speak on this? Okay, is anybody in the gallery who wishes to speak to the council on this item? Seeing none, council members, do you have questions for staff or Mr. Pogorlich? Okay. Very good. If council determines that the extension of the lien reduction payment is appropriate, we'll call for a motion to approve, not the extension, the reduction. Well, yeah, that's what this is not an extension of a previous reduction, right? Okay, all right. That's what I thought. Okay. If the recommendation of the code board is acceptable, I'd entertain a motion. Mr. Chambers.
I'd like to approve the motion to reduce the lien at 7907 Shore Bluff Court from $10,450 to the recommended $845, payable 30 days from tonight's meeting, or it reverts back to the $10,450.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Chambers, second by Councilmember Schistler. Any discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. So if the clerk would communicate this to the petitioner to explain the 30-day process. Next item on the agenda is a second public hearing and reading of an ordinance adopting Ordinance 1504 for zoning reclassification of 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway, or RZP 20-02. Open the public hearing. Ask anyone who intends to speak on this matter to stand for the oath.
You swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God.
City Attorney, would you like to poll the council for ex parte communications?
If each one of you would please state whether you received any ex parte communication with regard to this particular matter. If you received anything in writing, please provide a copy of that to the clerk if you have not already done so that the applicant can have that to consider. If you've received any oral communication, and for either one, written or oral, please state who you received that communication from, when did that occur, and what was the sum and substance of that communication.
I received communication from Linda Hamilton on April 7th, and it was mostly showing support of it, but concern about traffic. I forwarded it to the clerk.
I responded to a Facebook post that people were not sure what had happened, if it was still happening, if it had been hidden, whatever. And I just said that it was coming up tonight for the second reading, so.
I was a recipient of the same email referenced by Councilmember Abel, and I too forwarded it to the clerk. That's all.
I had no additional discussions or ex parte communications aside from the email prior to the previous meeting.
Okay, and I've had one phone call from Mr. Jack Ritter. That was yesterday, and the topic was the size of the building lots.
Okay. Planner Celeste Lau will explain. Welcome, Ms. Lau.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. Tonight I am here for the, there we go. Tonight is the second public hearing and reading for item RZP 20-02, which is a zoning reclassification for a property located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway. Like Mayor Ross said, the first hearing was held on April 6th. So a lot of this information is going to seem pretty familiar. The subject property is located on the northwest corner of Temple Terrace Highway and North 78th intersection. The current zoning is single-family residential, commercial general, and educational institutional. The applicant is proposing to rezone it to planned development. The map on the left-hand side shows the existing zoning, whereas the map on the right-hand side shows the proposed zoning in the purple for planned development. The applicant is proposing a subdivision with 141 detached dwelling units. A comprehensive plan amendment was also submitted with this application, and council approved of that on December 15th, 2020. This subject property now has a future land use of residential 4. Here are the proposed subdivision development standards. Here's the concept plan for the planned development, where the blue shows where the proposed 141 units will be, the green showing the stormwater and retention pond areas, the red showing future commercial area. The proposed development is slated to have 2 access points, with the main access being off of Temple Terrace Highway and the secondary access off of North 78th Street. Here are some renderings of the proposed homes. Again, the homes range from 1 to 2 stories and from 3 to 5 bedrooms. Here are some photos of the proposed fence. The fence is proposed to be 6 feet high, and it's made out of synthetic PVC. This fence will be located along the northern boundary that borders the Riverfront Preserve, as well as the eastern boundary of the subject property. Here are the proposed median improvements for the proposed entrance off of Temple Terrace Highway, with the red showing the subject boundary of the proposed subdivision, and the purple showing the left turn lane onto Temple Park Drive, which will be extended by 35 feet. There will be a 235-foot left turn lane into the proposed subdivision, and the orange shows the proposed bidirectional median, which would allow for someone to turn into the proposed subdivision, but it would not allow for a resident to make a left turn onto Temple Terrace Highway. The applicant is requesting a waiver from section 12-957B5 to reduce the required parking for 4 to 6 bedroom homes from 5 to 4 parking spaces. And again, the Planning Commission found the request consistent with the comprehensive plan. City staff recommends that council approve the ordinance for RZP 20-02. That concludes staff presentation. The applicant is here again, so they do have a presentation of their own. However, both staff and the applicant are here to answer any questions you may have.
Very good. I'd like to invite the applicant to the podium. Ms. Lau, we'll wait until everything's done before any questions, if that. Good evening, ma'am.
Good evening, Cammie Corbett with the law firm of Hill Ward Henderson representing the applicant. We do have a presentation, but since this is a second reading, I'll defer to the pleasure of council as to whether or not you'd like us to repeat that. It's very similar to the information that Ms. Lau presented, and so if you, it's really your pleasure in terms of if you'd like to have us remake the same presentation, or we just can be available for any questions if you'd like.
Mr. Schoen, are you comfortable with that, or should we have the presentation?
It's the applicant's choice as to whether they want to present any more information. So at this point, they're resting on the presentation that was already made by Ms. Lau this evening.
So we're legally sufficient if we don't see it again. Council, is there anybody who would like to? If there's somebody who would like to, we'll do it. We're good.
And just, good point, just to remind everyone that we did actually go ahead and add that additional fencing along the preserve that had been requested, so we did include that in.
I was going to ask about that because I didn't see that in the, okay, so that has been added?
Yes, that has been added, and that is part of the approval, yes.
Okay.
That is required.
All right. All right, well, we'll go right to public comment. Then I do have one request to address the council on this item from Mr. Jack Ritter. Welcome, Mr. Ritter.
Thank you, Mayor, members of council.
Good evening.
Jack Ritter, Temple Terrace, 227 Willowwick Avenue. I know this is a fait accompli, but let me make a plea to you folks. I've looked at this development, 5,500 square foot lots, 75% coverage on the lots. Where are the kids going to play? That's the question. I implore you that as we go into other developments, which we will over time, that we somehow get the developers to provide bigger lots, more separation, and a quality home in the neighborhood of $300,000 or $400,000. When I moved to Temple Terrace, there were less than 80 homes here. Now look what we have. And these cookie cutter developments just don't make it as far as I'm concerned. So direct your staff to find bigger lots and bigger homes on all of this. I think we'll all be satisfied. The kids have got to have a place to play. They can't play in the streets. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Are there other members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, would the applicant like to reply to anything have anything more comments?
Cammie Corbett again, just with respect to lot sizes, we are providing front and backyard, so there is green space for these children to play. They're not the large standard lots, but they are within market, and there is certainly a demand for that size of house. And we're here to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you. Council members, do you have any questions for staff or from the applicant? Okay. I'll close the public hearing. Ask the clerk to read the title of the ordinance.
An ordinance of the City of Temple Terrace, Florida, rezoning 35.42 plus minus acres of land located at 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway from zoning classification single-family residential R9, commercial general, and educational institutional to planned development in Temple Terrace for RZP 20-02, requesting a waiver from Land Development Code Section 12-957B5, providing for amendment to the official zoning map of the city, providing severability and effective date, and repealing all ordinances or parts of ordinances in conflict herewith.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Is there a motion to adopt ordinance 1504?
I move to approve after the second public hearing, a reading adopting ordinance 1504, approving the zoning reclassification of 7032 and 7746 Temple Terrace Highway, RZP 20-02.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. Motion passed. Thank you very much. Next item on the agenda is being pulled. The City Manager Stevenson will explain. This is a resolution adopting CU 21-01 for the conditional use permit located at 12902 North 56th Street. Mr. Stevenson?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just real quick, there's really a couple different reasons why we've pulled this agenda item. One is the applicant's representative has some health issues and couldn't represent him the agenda item this evening. About 3 or 4 days ago, after we had this thing posted on an agenda and also had it advertised, we discovered that there was some discussion about alcohol sales and service. So we really need to address that with this application and bring that information to council. The applicant and the owner know that this is being pulled, and they're in agreement with doing that until we can get that resolved. So,
Very good.
thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Stevenson. Therefore, the next item is item C, resolution accepting Edward Byrne JAG grant funds to purchase Arlo cameras and a subscription to First Two application. Police Captain Rob Staley will explain. Welcome, Captain.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I stand before you tonight seeking approval for a resolution authorizing the acceptance of $5,030 awarded to the City of Temple Terrace under fiscal year 2020 Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant, or the JAG grant. A portion of the funds received from the grant will be used to purchase 3 Arlo portable cameras along with various camera accessories and 1-year mobile service for the cameras. In addition, a portion will be used to purchase 1 year of service for up to 25 officers to the First Two location-based situational intelligence technology mobile application. These expenditures will be made from account 001-1411-51-6499, and I stand for questions.
Very good. Thank you, Captain. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, any questions for Captain Staley? Seeing none, very good. Is there a motion to accept the Edward Byrne JAG grant funds?
Move to approve the acceptance of the Edward Byrne JAG Memorial JAG funds in the amount of $5,031.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Is there discussion on the motion? If not, all those in favor signify with aye. Aye. Any opposed? No nays? Thank you very much, Captain.
Thank you, Captain.
Next item on the agenda is a resolution approving the comprehensive annual financial report for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2020. Jeff Wolf, CPA at Moore, Stevens, and Lovelace, and Finance Director Lynn Boswell. I don't see Lynn. Oh, there she is. Hello, Ms. Boswell. Will explain. Welcome, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening.
First of all, before I get started, presentation. Okay. I just want to thank the council for allowing us to continue to serve you and the city as your external auditors. But with that, I'll get right into the information. First of all, government auditing standards requires us to communicate certain items to governance, the board, yourself, and this communication covers those requirements. First is our responsibility as auditors, and our responsibility is to perform an audit in accordance with the applicable standards and to render an opinion on the fairness of those financial statements. Management responsibility is to first establish a set of internal controls to provide reasonable assurance that those financial statements are materially correct, and also it's to also prepare and take responsibility for those financial statements. It's always important to note all that hard work in the financial statements, that's management. It's not the auditors doing. We review it. It's management that prepares those financial statements. Next, we do review internal controls and compliance. However, it really is just to gain an understanding to plan our audit. We don't do enough work to render opinion on those controls. I'm happy to report we had no significant difficulties during the audit. There's no unusual accounting conventions. I mean, there was no transactions that really lacked any authoritative guidance. No disagreement with management. We did have a few small audit adjustments, but however, none of them were significant enough that would require reporting. And then lastly, we completed the audit in accordance with the schedule that we communicated previously. Right on to the service and deliverables. The first is our independent audit report. That's the opinion on the financial statements. We did have an unmodified opinion, which is the highest level, a clean opinion. So that should be, congratulate the city on that. Next is our report on internal control and financial reporting and compliance. We had no issues noted in that report as well, so that's a clean report. Something new this year, you did meet the single audit threshold for federal due to some FEMA money. So a single audit was done on the FEMA. And again, that was no findings in that report, and that was also a clean opinion. Next is the Auditor General required management letter. We did have one comment for approval for improvement, and that really just relates to an inventory issue in your utility services. where the inventory wasn't being tracked through the system and inventory observation wasn't completed at year end. However, financially wise, there's really no impact to the financial statements. It balanced out. So we just recommend going forward that the city be aware of that and make sure they're tracking all inventory and performing inventory observations at year end. Lastly is our independent accountants report, which is just a report on compliance with Florida statutes with investments, and there was no findings or issues noted in that report. So really, really high level financial analysis. This first being the citywide analysis, meaning if the city was a business, so therefore all long-term assets, long-term liabilities are recorded. Couple important items probably that stick out is that negative unrestricted net position of 146%. That's comparable with last year, which was 139. And that really is due to your pension liabilities, both with FRS and then your police and fire. And then, I want to note you had a positive change in net position of 6.6 million, which is pretty strong. And then your business type activities, again, that unrestricted net position of being 74% of total operating expenses. That's a very strong number. That was 40% last year. Part of that increase was due to just results of positive operations. Also a change in the calculation of unrestricted and restricted assets. So pretty consistent with prior year. And then moving on to your general fund, which is your main operational fund for the city. And there's some comparisons between 2020 and 2019, and I'll point out the assigned unassigned fund balance as a percentage of total expenditures. This is really your ability to meet your ongoing expenditures, and also if there's an emergency, what funds do you have available for those emergencies? And you can see you went up from 18% to 29% for last year. Last year was a little bit of an unusual number because you had some unusual debt expenditures, paying off some loans that really raised that number. But 29% is a very strong number and really good sign of the overall financial health of the city. Next is just some general fund budget schedules. As you see, you came slightly under your budget on revenues, but you were positive on your expenditures by 2.2 million. So overall, you had a net gain, positive impact of 1.6 million compared to budget. That will obviously roll into next year. Lastly is just a comparison of the enterprise funds. Overall, the numbers, I know this is only current year, but they're pretty consistent with prior year. Last year, in your water and sewer, you had an operating income of 0.9 million. That increased to 1.5 in the current year. And then your sanitation fund, last year actually broke even, and this year had a 0.1 million loss. So pretty comparable in your enterprise funds. That's really all I wanted to cover today, but if there's any questions on the reports, the audit itself, I'd be more than happy to answer those.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Are there members of the public who wish to comment on this item? Seeing none, council members, any questions? Mr. Wolf or staff?
It's a great read.
Very good. Is there a motion to, I'm sorry, did you have a question?
Comment or wait to comment?
Well, questions right now, comments are
That's fine,
coming.
that's fine, that's fine.
It's a fine line, I know.
I know,
but,
I
all
know.
right. Is there a motion to approve the comprehensive financial report for fiscal year ending September 30th, 2020?
So moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second by Vice Mayor. Any comments or discussion on the motion?
I have a comment. Having been involved with the audit committee again, I want to commend the staff, finance staff, and just everybody within the entire operation of the city. These are good numbers. This is a good audit. This is a good, I can't use CAFR anymore. I can't, whatever.
Comprehensive AFR.
I'll go with the AFR. Anyway, it was a good job. It was strong efforts, even with COVID and everything else and all the limitations through the year. And I'm glad to see it's continuing year after year. Thank you very much for your efforts.
Vice Mayor?
That's my comment as well. It was all doom and gloom when we were worried about what was happening to us with COVID. And thank you to everyone who involved, city manager, finance director, and your wonderful staff, and all the directors who really had to toe the line. So this was obviously a big effort. I do have one question, and it's just a curiosity. Page 69, there's an item that says Arts Education Center. It's under restricted funds. I didn't know we had an Arts Education Center fund. I'm like, I got excited when I saw it. So if you don't want to, here she's getting her book, she knows. The other funds were obvious, tree impact fees, Friends of the Library, Knox box, stuff like that. And then I got to that one and I was like, okay, what is that?
I'm on page 69.
Yes. Under under restricted, total restricted, under total general fund, there's street improvements.
Yes.
CIT, public safety, dash, Arts Education Center.
I think those are titles for what we've had done in the past, and we've kept those as a just in case. I would classify our leisure as an arts education center as well as Lightfoot.
Okay. Thank you. Well, we had hopes at one time to build one. I thought we still had money sitting around.
Councilmember Chambers.
Yeah, I wanted to tell you that was for the Cultural Arts Center that was being planned for the redevelopment area that had the theater in it and some other cultural activities in there. Yeah, it's rolled over.
Yes, that's why I got excited when I saw that word again.
Are there other comments on the motion on the table? Comments on the motion? I do have one brief thing. I'd like to echo what everybody has said. I'd like to commend the city manager, the finance director and her staff for helping us through this pandemic. We didn't know how bad this was going to hit us financially. It did not hit, it's hit us, but not nearly as bad as we thought it could. And some of that has to do with CARES Act, and some of it has to do with the real estate market. And some of it has to do with a lot of things that we don't have direct control over. But I want the public to know that some of it is a result of Mr. Stevens' management decisions and the finance director's guidance of this. So this didn't happen accidentally. There was some good decision-making made to prevent bleeding that could have occurred. So I want to commend the city manager and the finance department for that. So very good. If there are no other comments on the motion, all those in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No nays. The CAFR, I call it a CAFR. I've just done that I know that's wrong, but thank you, Mr. Wolf. Mr. Stevenson, think you had a comment?
I did, Mr. Mayor and council. I don't get any credit for this. This is the work of your departments, including finance director, who has worked extremely hard over the last 3 years to straighten this stuff out. Honestly, I work for them. If they tell me they need something, I try to react. We have a great audit company that comes in and does a tremendous job for us. I feel very comfortable that we're in a very good financial status, and hopefully, things continue that way, and I think they will. I think we've got a very good outlook for the coming years. So we appreciate the recognition. Recognition really goes to my staff, okay? Your staff. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Wolf. Is there any carryover council business from previous meetings?
Wow, we've come to the end.
Not yet.
I was gonna say.
Is there any new business or board reports from council members?
I have some.
Councilmember Abel.
Yesterday, the Riverwatch Task Force met and expressed an interest in learning more about the PURE project, which is Tampa's water project, for those of you who don't know, that seeks to pump treated wastewater that's treated to drinking water standards into the aquifer to maintain minimum flows in the lower Hillsborough River, drought-proof our water supply, actually their water supply, and address surface water discharge elimination legislation that's coming down the pike. And since this project will impact us, I was wondering if you all shared the Riverwatch Task Force interest in learning more, and if so, if you would be willing to entertain the idea of requesting having someone from Tampa come to present about it and answer our questions about the PURE project.
Absolutely.
My opinion, well, council members? Vice Mayor?
I would rather know about it than not know about it, so.
I'm not certainly opposed to inviting somebody to explain it. That would, I don't see anything wrong with that at all. I did hear a couple of months ago some things that concern me a little bit. We have to make sure that we understand our role in this though too, and that the Riverwatch Task Force members understand their role in this. And our role, their role, is not to take a position on Tampa. We're not an approving agency in this. Tampa's, there are agencies that approve or disapprove this, and we're not one of them. We need to proceed carefully, not us, mostly I'm talking about the volunteer members of the Riverwatch. We need to proceed carefully so that Tampa doesn't perceive our approach to them as something more than a request for information. So even an off comment during a meeting can be taken to mean, oh, the Temple Terrace people are, we don't need friction with Tampa over something that we don't really have a voice in anyway. And so it's important that we all play in the sandbox. You know, we sometimes conflicts arise that we can't help, and if they arise, they arise. I mean, we're going to stand up for Temple Terrace, but we have to be careful is all I'm saying. I certainly don't have any objection to doing that. I can ask Tampa to come. Truthfully, the last I thought this was tabled by the city council over there anyway, wasn't it? Or is it still?
It's still being worked on.
Okay. Would it be acceptable to you if I make some inquiries with the mayor over there and find out what the current status is, and then either request that they come or provide you an answer of why I didn't request them? Would that be okay?
Yeah, that would be great. I heard a really good and informative presentation that was already in PowerPoint form at the River Board TAC meeting this afternoon. And I think if we could request something like that, I think that would be a good direction to go in.
Okay, okay. I don't see any harm in that at all. So, yes, is that okay with everybody?
Use your judgment.
Okay, very good. I will do that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Other business, new business, or board reports? I do have an idea that I want to approach the council, and this is not a decision item for tonight. This is probably, well, not probably, this is something that I'm going to bring up in one of the upcoming budget meetings that we have. But I wanted to bring it up tonight because not many people attend our budget meetings, and I want the public to be aware of this and kind of have an opportunity to provide some input also. And again, I'm not looking for a decision tonight. All I'm doing is asking you to consider this for a future meeting and for the public to consider this and see what they think too. The property that we call Parcel C, the property that's along the Hillsborough River, we've had for sale for a long time. The only interest it's attracting is stuff that we don't want, apartment complexes and things of that nature that we have pretty much all decided we don't want. We're not getting what we want there. And we've talked to the real estate agent, Patrick Byrne. I've talked to several developers myself. I know the city manager's talked to several developers also. There's reasons why we're not, it's a beautiful piece of property, but in terms of development, it's too small, it's too low. There's too many wetlands mitigation things that would have to be done. There's issues. That's why we're not getting a lot of traction. I would propose, since we're not getting traction, that we take another course for now, right? And that is that we take it off the market, we clear the underbrush, leave the big trees, leave it wild, except we clear the underbrush so that you can walk. We put a shell parking area there, not asphalt, nothing permanent, a shell parking area, and we put a floating dock and we make a paddle park out of this thing. And the city buys some canoes and kayaks, and we have a pavilion. We build a pole barn kind of pavilion out there. Again, not a permanent structure because circumstances may change and we might want to develop this later on. We put canoes out there, kayaks. If you're a rec center member, you can go check out a canoe or a kayak, right? If you're not, you can rent them. And we put racks out there like they have at Lettuce Lake Park. If you have your personal canoe or kayak and you want to lock it up and leave it out there, you can do that too. And we could partition a part of that property off out there. We could put an area for food trucks to come on the weekend. If there's people out there, they could set up food trucks. They're all self-contained. We could put picnic tables, and all of this is reasonably cheap because none of the pavilions probably and the floating docks probably the biggest expense. There's not a lot of infrastructure. We're not putting anything permanent because the market may change, circumstances may change in the future when that complexity of, or not, the complexion of that area changes through redevelopment. There may be interest in the future and we don't have a permanent building there. We could still develop it. So I'm not looking for any answer tonight, but it is something that I think is worthy of talking and see, you know, and see what the public thinks too. I don't know what the public reaction is going to be. I might be run out of town tomorrow, or they might think it's a great idea. I don't know. So, Mr. Sisler?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that every one of us addressed this issue at the original goal-setting meeting we had a couple, 3 weeks ago. And I believe that everybody had pretty much the same consensus. I know you're not looking for a decision tonight, but I think in the interest of time and all that's going on within the city, perhaps we could have Mr. Stevenson get with Leisure Services and come up with a plan. We can talk about this, but, you know, let them run with it, come back with some suggestions at a subsequent meeting, even during the budget meetings, so that we can, are prepared, but maybe give them direction to get started on that now so that they can run with it. Come up with some viable options, come up with some cost estimates as to what it's going to cost so that we can implement this and not wait 3 or 4 or 5 months until October 1st and let's get the ball rolling. I agree with that. I think it's not something that's going to sell. There's just too many issues that are resident with the property. I think we should just move with it and ask the administration, ask the city manager, come back with a plan. Tell us what Leisure Services and Carl and his kids can come up with, and what ballpark of what it's going to cost, so we have this thing. Have the information so that we can make a rational decision, and one it's just a vacant lot right now. Let's turn it into something that we can utilize and for the citizens, for everybody in the area. I think it's a good idea, and I don't think we need to wait. I think we need to get started on it, at least the planning. I'll stop there.
Brother Kent, what do you think, Vice Mayor?
I'm all for it, but I think we ought to invite the representative, or at least ask if there are any crew teams out there who also would like to use that facility. I know there was a team of adults who were meeting at University of Tampa, and they got recently told they were no longer welcome there. The school is going to use the area for something else. And they went looking for a home and struggled to find one. So, you know, they come with the money and the infrastructure to do things that we don't have to pay for, you know, for them to put it in. So let's talk to them. Let's talk to King. Let's talk to Tampa Bay Tech. Let's talk to the new Patel School. Maybe they have crew teams that they had to go a long way to practice. So, you know, so they don't have to go all the way downtown Tampa. They could come right here in their own neighborhood. So the citizens have said this over and over again over the years, even when we were in the charrettes. Where's the green space? Where's the green space? So I think this will be met with open arms by the community. And, I mean, it's our last little sliver of the river. So I'm all for it. I think it's great. Thank you for bringing it up tonight.
I love it.
Councilmember Abel?
What you just said, I love the idea. That sounds really good. I'd like to hear more.
Councilmember Chambers?
Same thing. You know,
Okay, so,
can't have more parks.
Mr. Stevenson, what are your thoughts?
These are the fun stuff that we do. It's much more fun than putting an audit together, I can tell you that. We will, I had this conversation with Carl just yesterday. he's going to start kicking around some ideas, and what came out of the goal setting was the idea of looking at the whole city and seeing if we can create more pocket parks. We intend to bring back a lot of those tasks that you gave us and a lot of those ideas at goal setting back to you at the first council meeting, the first council budget meeting, up for discussion. So we could put some stuff together, and I think it's a great idea. I mean, I would suggest that we run with it and see what we can put together. It won't cost that much money.
So, council members, I want everybody in the public to understand what we're doing here. We are asking the city manager to explore this, the feasibility and the cost associated with this?
Yes.
Okay, so no final decision, of course, has been made.
And basically take it off the market.
Well, it's on the market now until we decide to take it off. So we have not made that decision, and I think that would be something we would have to decide if we are going to go this route.
Yeah, we'll come up with some kind of recommendation along with development.
We talked about at the budget meeting taking it off the market anyway.
Really, at this point in time, I mean, we have very little interest in something that I think would be viable and fit in down there. I do think that you leave the option open that if in fact something happens down the road, and we get parcel B totally developed, you may find somebody that wants to build something there that is suitable for the council. So from a standpoint of taking off the market, I think you do that temporarily, but you can always put it back on. And again, anything that we build out there is certainly temporary and there's no permanent structures. One of the questions was bathrooms. We have bathrooms at Riverside that are right across the bridge. So I think it would be a viable option for that piece of property for the time being.
Well, let's not decide to take it off the market, because when we do that, we'll make it an agenda item so the public has ample opportunity to know that we're going to talk about that. I don't want to sneak up on anybody and
That's fine. That's
give
good suggestion.
plenty of opportunity and notice to the public to chime in on this. So, okay, thank you. Other new business or board reports?
I had something.
Mr. Chambers.
It was mentioned earlier, but I wanted to thank the Garden Club for their event Sunday, Spring Market at Woodmont. It was well done. Thank you to the city, Charles, the police, leisure services, certainly all the work that they did. It was well done. The first event really like this back since COVID started. What I found out was the last event we did in the city before COVID hit was the Spring Market, and it's also the first one back. So the Garden Club, you've got something going.
Hold the record.
Yeah, you hold the record. But anyway, it was well done. Thank you very much for doing that for our community.
Thank you.
Other new business? Okay, city manager's report?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I've just got one item, and I just need council to think about giving me some direction here. Back in last May, in the onset of COVID, we had decided, among other things, to help the community to not disconnect people's utilities for non-payment of water and sewer. That has continued, but we are now getting a glutton, if you would, of accounts that are now delinquent, to the tune of about 155 accounts that haven't made a payment since December of 2020. So the status of that, we don't know. We can certainly reach out to some of these individuals. We kind of suspended that program of disconnecting water and sewer, but with people losing their places of employment, we decided to kind of not do that for the time being. I do think it's probably about time that we start looking at how we start recouping and getting these accounts current. We did this with the sign. We relaxed our sign ordinance for the businesses to allow businesses to put extraneous signs on their property. We have now discontinued that just back a couple months ago. But we're now getting to the point where, this is probably looking at, you're probably looking at about $150,000 that's delinquent. And again, I don't want to start turning people's water off, but certainly we have to do something. So again, I'd like to have some direction from council, how you guys want us to approach this, because obviously we can't let this go on forever. So,
Charles, I have a couple questions about that. Have we had any contact with these, how many folks did you say, how many accounts?
We've got 155 accounts that have made no payments since December of 2020. And to
We
answer your
had
question,
any-
where you're going, no, we have not.
No dialogue or
No,
correspondence
but
from
we
anybody?
certainly can go in that direction and find out if there is something that we can do to help these individuals.
Well, and that was my next question is, I know that Hillsborough County and Tampa collaborated with their, I think, it wasn't Rescue Act money because that's not there yet. It's CARES Act money, I think, is what they pooled their money together for utility relief.
Well, if you remember correctly, there was a payroll protection plan as well.
Right.
That the county was helping people that had lost their employment, so on and so forth. So, do we know if those people got, these accounts got money on that? We don't know.
Well, that's what I was wondering,
We'd never
if
be
the
able to
county
find
could,
out.
yeah, if the county could, we're gonna have to act on it at some point, but there's obviously some questions here. I mean, do these folks know about the,
I just want council to understand that it is out there, all right? And there's something that we're looking at, and it's certainly something that we're gonna have to act on here, certainly somewhere down the road. I think that, again, I think we're getting to somewhat, we'll never get back to normal. I'm convinced of that, but there's gotta be some happy medium here that either we help these individuals with some of their finances, or we start turning off their water and their sewer. Not their sewer, we don't turn sewer off, but the water off. But somewhere down the road, we need to kind of put a stop to what we're doing, so.
okay,
So, can I ask a question?
Vice Mayor?
So you really don't know anything about these families or homes at this point, so not talking to anyone, I realize that's not easy to do. I mean, our code compliance guys wrestle with it all the time, but obviously, the first thing we have to do is look at these accounts to see, did they stop paying in December, but then they abandoned the house in February, or is this still an ongoing account? I mean, there's so many things we don't know, but I also know that some of the problems that people have faced is that when they do get a job, then they owe everything that they owe it all. So, I mean, they could be losing their homes just because they owe us their water bill. So I'm not trying to be a Pollyanna here. I just want to tap into whatever resources we have so that we can make ourselves whole and then find out, if there's somebody who really is struggling, but then there's another one who's just not paying it because he knew he couldn't. I mean, there has to be an application process or something that we do. So communication is always key, no matter what we do, obviously. So I definitely thank you for bringing that to us. I've been wondering about that for some time, and worried about it, honestly.
Well, we'll certainly work on some kind of solution. There's gotta be something that we can do, one way or the other. Certainly if you've got individuals that, are gainfully employed and just not paying their bills is one thing. I mean, if somebody really is struggling with their finances, we certainly are sympathetic to that. And I just want you guys to know that this is out there, that we need to do something. Eventually, we need to do something. But do we have any details on each account? We don't. This was just one of those things that I'm trying to get cleaned up, like opening up City Hall. It's just one of those things that we have to get some attention to. But we'll come up with something and certainly feed council some information on some suggestions moving forward. So, but we've got a little bit of homework to do.
Mr. Schischler?
Yes, thank you for bringing this up, Mr. Stevenson. I think that, I believe you said in your description that these are 150 some accounts that haven't paid anything since December of 19?
2020.
2020. Yeah. December 2020?
Yeah, so it's not that long.
That's only a couple, 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But
okay, well, how about prior to that, when we were in the throes of unemployment and so forth? I must have misunderstood.
Again, I've asked for just a very basic accounting. I don't know that I've
Okay.
got any answer
All right.
for you, but those are certainly things that we will look into.
Yeah, I think that the approach that I would like to see is, let's reach out to them, find out what the circumstances are. if there's some type of an application program that we can, or an inquiry, they're still unemployed, they're living off of unemployment and so forth, then we can work with them, but to not pay anything is just, it creates a hardship on the system for the ones that are paying, that even the ones that are having their own issues and still making their payments. I don't want to cut anybody off, obviously, we can't do that either, because we have no conscience. But I think your approach to it is measured, and it's the right thing to do, and then let's find out what we're dealing with before we can do anything. But we do it, because ultimately it would be a negative to the overall finances of the city. In the amount of 150,000 suddenly becomes a material event, and then it's an adjustment that has to be made, and it doesn't look good. It's not sound financial practices. So I think your approach is the right way to go with this.
We'll do some investigation, and we'll kind of get some more details, but again, the whole purpose of this conversation is just to let you know what we're dealing with, that we are in fact aware of what's going on with some of these accounts, and certainly the Finance and Customer Service Department has fed us this information. So we'll do some legwork here and kind of let you know. I mean, again, I don't know any details just yet, but okay.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Thank you, sir. No, sir.
City Attorney's report.
Nothing this evening.
Is there any other business to come before the council?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, ma'am.
4th of July. I saw it on Facebook, and I saw it on the Friday report, but you might want to have somebody who come up. I know Ms. Hayes is working on it. Somebody tell the community other than Facebook.
We have given direction to Leisure Services and to marketing to move forward as if we were going to be able to hold this. I am hoping and praying that things move consistently with what we've been seeing. Again, I think that that is something that we really need to do. I think we can pull it off if things don't get worse. But I would rather have it fully planned and then pull back than to say 2 weeks before, let's do something. So we are moving forward full force. And hopefully we don't have to pull the event. But I will leave that open. I mean, if things get really bad, we just going to have to do something different. But I do think with the current conditions, I think we can pull this off and do it safely. So.
Well, I'm as positive as you are, because we are planning the Arts Festival in November. So we're planning it with the idea that you can't plan it the day before, so let's get it
You're
going.
absolutely right. I mean, it takes a lot of work, and Leisure Services does a great job of putting this thing together, but it does take a lot of work on everybody's part. So we're trying to move full force until I have reason not to.
Yep.
Okay.
That's it.
Any other business to come before the council? Council members, staff, citizens, city manager, city attorney, everybody's good? All right, then we are adjourned.
Nice to see you here.